Good morning and welcome to the annual ICTS Symposium. I'm Bill Powderly, I'm Director of the ICTS, and I'm delighted to welcome everybody to our symposium, which is entitled Making an Impact, Shaping the Future. I want to start, this program today talks about advancing health equity through the CTSA program, and I think it's very appropriate to acknowledge the fact that we're part of a human journey, and that started a long time before us, and that the culture and the people who have lived in this community over the years shaped the community, and our opportunity is to further shape that community. So this is both an in-person and Zoom meeting, and we have the agenda available to you that you can scan, and you have all the speaker bios, etc., and the agenda on it. So please go ahead and do so. And for those of you on Zoom, when we have our question and answer sessions for the panels, you can see the questions that are being put up, and if you like them, you can click the thumbs up icon, just like you do on Twitter or whatever, and that way I will get to see what are the most popular questions, and I can ask the panel the popular questions. So I'd like to now welcome our Dean, David Perlmutter, who could not be here in person and who has recorded some messages for all of us attending the symposium.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2022 ICTS Symposium. The Institute of Clinical and Translational Sciences is critically important to all of the aspirations of this medical school, and for good reason. Our legacy is based on historical excellence in basic science, but over the past 14 years, we have undertaken a fundamental transformation in how we orient and leverage that excellence. We have invested in programs, partnerships, and institutes that will help us turn more of what is discovered in our labs into landscape-altering diagnostics, techniques, and therapeutics that will have a real and long-lasting impact on human health, including the imperative of our safety net mission and delivering on health equity with urgency. At WashU, we believe in the virtuous cycle of academic medicine. We invest in education and research to bring improvements to clinical care, better outcomes for patients, and better health for the community. In turn, our clinicians identify important areas for study, leading to innovations in areas where they are needed most. This virtuous cycle of academic medicine is also the paradigm that drives our vision for contributing to the future of St. Louis. We are always asking, how can we have more impact on the community around us? How can we improve the health of our neighbors, urban and rural? How can we improve the economy in our city and region, since we know that economic status plays such an important role in health outcomes? The ICTS is at the heart of both that virtuous cycle and any response to those questions. It has already transformed the culture and practice around translational research, and it will no doubt continue to provide the resources and make the connections that will enable us to continue to lead innovative and highly impactful clinical and translational research studies. Before I leave you to the rest of this exciting program, I want to acknowledge and very gratefully thank our partners, University of Missouri, Columbia, St. Louis University, the University of Health Sciences and Pharmacy, and BJC Healthcare. I would also like to extend my heartfelt thanks to the Director and Associate Director of ICTS, Bill Powderly and Chris Gurnett. This work is so important, and all of us owe you two a tremendous debt of gratitude for your leadership, and in particular for the work that led to the renewal of the program this next cycle. Thank you.
So again, I'd like to thank the Dean, and he referred to the virtuous cycle, which is one where we hope to take the discoveries of this university and this medical school and our partners and other institutions and bring them into humans to test clinical intervention, into the clinical setting, into the community, and into practice, and improve health for individuals and for populations in that manner. So as the Dr. Perlmutter mentioned, we have renewed our CTSA. And I want to thank everybody. This was an incredible team effort. And we are very pleased to be able to work in partnership with Mizzou and St. Louis University for the next 5 years to advance clinical and translational research. So the last 2 years really showed the importance of something like an infrastructure for clinical and translational sciences. Back one. And we responded to COVID. I can just go back to the previous slide. If we responded to COVID as a major partnership and supported a tremendous amount of clinical and translational research. There are a lot of different studies that were done, but I want to highlight one in particular, which was the efforts to develop a saliva-based test, which led to an early EUA for this test developed here at the MGI. And the reason I highlight that, because that really shows how you can leverage translational science, because that led to a team here at the university led by Chris Gurnett to have several grants funded through the RADx program to really allow children who have significant disabilities to remain with in-person education. And that was, I think, from a research perspective, that was very important. But from a community perspective and for the interests of these challenged children, that was crucial. And I think that this shows why we do this sort of research and can do it even in the setting of a global emergency. So we are at the moment focused on a number of major initiatives that we are trying to move. We have a commitment to rural health in partnership with the University of Missouri-Columbia. And this will allow ICTS investigators with research questions that involve rural participants to help both educate and inform the rural community about the value of clinical research, ideally, ultimately increasing rural community engagement in health research, and allow us to bring the benefits of translational research to a wider group of patients across the board. This is a crucial partnership with the University of Missouri-Columbia, and which we initiated about a year ago, and we're looking forward to moving it forward. Involvement with our community is a critically important part of translational research, because ultimately the goal of translational research is to benefit people. The pandemic showed us the importance of engaging with our community. So we have partnerships with University of Missouri, funded by the CDC, to increase vaccine awareness and uptake across the state, both in rural and urban communities. We have a very active community advisory board, and you'll hear later from the co-chair of one of our community advisory board. And we have developed a significant number of initiatives that will increase the engagement of our community in partnership with our investigators. Part of that commitment to community engagement is to recognize that we live in a diverse society, and that we not only have to engage with patients and research participants from diverse backgrounds, but we need to increase the diversity of our own workforce, and particularly the investigator workforce. And we will talk in more detail about that in a few minutes. But we are committed to doing that. We have are developing a new program for underrepresented faculty in medicine for equity and diversity, which will provide additional supports over and above what is already available, and particularly recognize that individuals who come into medical school faculty from underrepresented populations don't always have the mentorship and support and role modeling that's available for those from the majority populations. So, with all of that in mind, I want to move on to the next phase. Oh, I knew I forgot something. We, this year, we have decided to provide some awards for the best posters, and I will encourage everybody to either visit the posters on Zoom if you're not here personally, or visit the posters during the break and after the session. But one of the things that we want to focus on in the ICTS over the next 5 years of our renewal is looking at research not only on the basis of its traditional academic outputs, that is papers in peer-reviewed journals, grants that were received as a result of the initial investment by the ICTS, but really looking at impact. And impact, the notion of how you look at impact is actually developed here at Washington University by Doug Luke and his colleagues at the Brown School, and has been brought into a translational science benefit model that we intend to increase the use of, and is already being used by about 10 to 12 CTSAs across the country. And it really looks at the question of, instead of just counting papers, we look at what do we mean by impact. And impact can be clinical. We improve clinical services, we improve clinical outcomes. It can be in the community. We improve community health. We have a benefit to the community. It can be economic. The results of the research led to discoveries that led to people getting jobs, or decrease the cost of healthcare, or they can be policy. So we decided this year to look at our posters and the abstracts that were sent to us with an impact lens. And so we have 4 that will receive an award of $500 each. One is a People's Choice, so that was voted by all of you who looked at these posters in advance, and you see the title there. And then we looked at from a judging group, we looked at studies that either had a long-term impact, a short-term impact, or potentially a national impact. And I'd encourage you to go look at these posters and see if you would agree whether with the judges' conclusions that these were impactful. But I will take, just as an example, the very last one there, which was a study that looked at livers that were rejected initially on current grounds as donor livers for transplantation. And using more subtle criteria, suggested that as many as 30% of those livers could be, in fact, be available for donation. And if that were the case, you would increase the donor pool of livers nationally, which is a really important issue. And the impact of a study such as that, if it is verified, would be quite remarkable. So this is why we should be thinking of impact as well as the traditional academic outcomes.